of West Asia. West Asia name is Seleucus Nicator because he's wrote an account about what he saw. His the occasions on which the emperor appears is in public are celebrated with grand royal processions. Is carried in a global palanquin, that means palki, and his cards ride elephants decorated with gold and silver. Some of the cards carry trees on which live birds, including a flock of trained parrots, circle about the head of the emperor. The king is normally surrounded by armed women. He is afraid that someone will try to kill him. He has special servants to taste the food before he eats. He never sleeps in the same bedroom for 2 nights. And about Patliputra, modern Patna, he wrote, "This is a large and beautiful city. It is surrounded by massive walls, with 470 towers and 64 gates. The houses of 2 and 3 stories are built of wood and mud brick. The king's palace is also of wood and decorated with stone carvings. It is surrounded with gardens and enclosures for keeping birds. What do you think the king had special service to do? Particular level from 1 to 30. This slit. Officials collected taxes from the area under the direct control of the ruler, and the royal princes went to the provinces as like servants, merchants, and these kind of things. And the modern ruler tried to control, and which were transported. Ujjain was the gateway to the northwest. Ujjain was not the gateway. It was the Dakshina. Chandragupta is written on in the Arthur Shastras. No, it was the ancient name of Bengal. No. Most Ashokans from the province. No. ये तो मेरे समझ के बाहर है. Now chapter 8, religious towns and fields. Prabhakar at the blacksmith's shop. Prabhakar sat watching the smiths and the local shop. And there was a small bench on which iron tools like axes. Yet is for yet. There was blacksmith shop. There was a small bench on which iron tools like axes and sickles were laid out, ready for and 2 men were eating and beating metal rods in the shape. And yet it was fascinating to watch what was happening. Iron tools and agriculture. We often take the use of iron for granted today. These metal pyramids still are a part of our daily lives. The use of iron began in the subcontinent around 3000 years ago. some of the largest collections of iron tools and weapons are found in the megalithic burials. Tools and weapons. Megalithic burials. About around 2,500 years ago, there was evidence for the growing use of iron tools. These included axes for clearing forests. These included axes. Axes for clearing forests. Okay, and the iron plowshare. The plowshare was useful for increasing agricultural production here. Other steps to increase production irrigation. Kings and kingdoms you have already know the cannot have existed without the support of flourishing villages and neuters, and the system of transport irrigation increased production. Irrigation was also used. Irrigation works that were built during this time included canals, wells, tanks, and artificial lakes. And I introduce a set of captions to the right one of each of the pictures. Sickle, tongs, axe. This is the tong one. This one, okay. Tong, I don't know. If you look at the chart, you'll find that some of the stages in the construction of irrigation works are mentioned in the rest by using the following phrases. You can find that some of the stages in the construction of irrigation works done the rest by using the following phrases provided by people. Farmers also benefit because crop production is more certain. Farmers have increased the One, two, three, four. That means we have to sequence shares. Okay. The demand taxes from farmers and kings need money for armies, palaces, forts. They demand taxes from farmers. Farmers have to increase production to pay taxes. This is possible with irrigation. Okay. And farmers also benefit because production is more certain. And kings provide money and plan irrigation works. Production increases, so does revenue. And labor is provided by the people. Okay. Who lived in the villages? There were at least 3 different kinds of people living in most villages in the southern and northern parts of the subcontinent. In the Tamil region, large landowners were known as Vellalar, and ordinary plowmen were known as Ushavar, and landless laborers, including slaves, were known as Kadaisiar and Adimai. In the northern part of the country, the village headman was known as the Gram Bojaka. Literally men from the same family. Okay, the post was hereditary. That means उसके बेटे का उसके बेटे का उसके बेटे का उसके बेटे का सबका पोस्ट सेम. The Gram Bhojaka was often the largest landowner. Okay. तो जो विलेज का हेडमैन होता है उसको ग्राम भोजका कहते हैं, और जो ग्राम भोजका है वो लार्जेस्ट लैंड ओनर, ऑब्वियसली लार्जेस्ट लैंड ओनर होगा वो. एंड जनरली ही हैड स्लेव्स. ओके. And hired workers to cultivate the land. Besides, as he was powerful, the king often used to him to collect taxes from the village. Okay. Also functioned as a judge and sometimes as a policeman. Okay. Apart from the Gram Bhojka, there were other independent farmers known as other जो भी independent farmers हैं known as Grihapatis. Grihapati. Okay, so like and most of them are smaller landowners. Okay, and then there were men and women such as the Das Karmkara who did not own land. Das who did not own land, and they had to earn a living working on the fields owned by others, and had to earn a living working on the fields owned by others. In most villages, there were also some craftspersons such as blacksmith and potter. The earliest Tamil compositions, some of the earliest works in Tamil known as Sangam literature. This is very important. Were composed around 2,300 years ago, and these texts were called Sangam because they were supposed to have been composed and compiled in assemblies known as Sangams, and assemblies of poets that were held in the city of Madurai. Okay, the Tamil terms mentioned about the following Sangam. Okay, like Gram Bhojka, okay, Grihapatis and Das Karmkara. These are a part of these all are a part of Sangam literature, and we have the coins. Okay, archaeologists have found several thousands of coins belonging to this period, and the earliest coins which were in use for about 500 years. Punch marked coin suggests the one shown here. Okay, this was the punch marked coin around 500 years ago in Tamil. It was used. Okay, they generally rectangular or sometimes square or round in shape, either cut out of metal sheets or made out of flattened metal. Globules, globules, and a small spherical body. Small spherical body. The coins were not inscribed but were stamped with symbols using dies or punch. What is this dice? Or punches? As they are called punch marked coins. Maybe the dice. Or punches, and then they are called punch marked coins. And these coins are found over most parts of the subcontinent and remain in circulation till the early centuries CE. And remained in circulation till the early centuries CE. Okay. Other means of exchange. Read the short form for the Sangam collection. As they carry the white paddy of their land to exchange it for the salt of another, crossing the long roads in carts through sands white as moon, taking whole families who hate to be left behind. The departure of the salt merchants leaves the city empty. Salt was produced plentifully along the sea coast. What are the merchants planning to exchange with? How are they traveling as they carry the white pride of their land to exchange it for the salt of another? They're planning to exchange, they're planning to exchange it with salt. And what are they traveling? They're all in cars. They're traveling with carts. And cities with many functions. Very often, a single town was important for a variety of reasons. Let us look at the example of Mathura. A single town was important for a variety of reasons. Let us look at the example of Mathura. Mathura has been an important settlement for It is an important settlement for more than 2500 years ago, and it was important because it was located at the crossroads of two major routes. Important because it was located at the crossroads of two major routes of travel and trade from the northwest to the east and northwest to the east and from the north to south. Okay, and there were fortifications around the city and several from the northwest to the east and from the north to south, and there were fortifications around the city and several shrines. बहुत सारे like मज़ार हो गया या फिर मंदिर हो गया ये सब थे, and farmers and herders from adjoining areas provided food. Around the city and several shrines. There are mandirs. Okay, farmers and herders from adjoining areas provided food for people in the city, and Mathura was also a center where some extremely fine sculpture were produced. Adjoining. Farmers and herders provide food for people in the city. Okay, around 2000 years ago, Mathura became second capital of the Kushanas, and about whom? Okay, Mathura was also a religious center. Oh, yeah, there were Mathura. There were Buddhist monasteries and Jaina shrines, and it was an important center for the worship. Yeah, the Mathura is most important center for the worship of Krishna, and several inscriptions on surfaces such as stone slabs and statues have been found in Mathura. statue, okay, have been found in Mathura. Generally, there are short inscriptions recording gifts made by men. Recording gifts made by men and sometimes women to monasteries and shrines. Okay. These were made by kings and queens. Made by kings and queens, officers, merchants, and craftspersons who lived in the city. For instance, inscriptions from Mathura mentioned goldsmith, blacksmiths, weaver, basket makers, garden makers, perfumers. Okay. The people who lived in Mathura list one occupation that was not practiced in Harappan cities. It was like perfumers, maybe, or what? There were goldsmiths, right? Blacksmiths, weavers. Okay, I think garden makers and perfumers, but maybe the garden makers. Don't know about that. Craftsmanship also an appreciation evidence for crafts. This includes uh, extremely fine pottery known as the Northern Black Polished Ware. Northern Black Polished Ware (NBPW). Excuse me. It gets its name from the fact that it's generally found in the northern part of the subcontinent. Northern black washware is a hard, wheel-made, metallic-looking ware with a shiny black surface. The potter used to expose the earthenware to a very high temperature in his kiln, which resulted in the blackening of its outer surface. A fine black slip was also applied on this, which gave the pottery a mirror-like shine. It has its name from the fact that it's generally found in the northern part of the subcontinent. Northern black. There is evidence for many Australian have survived. We know from texts that the manufacture of cloth was important. There were famous centers such as Varanasi, and Madurai in the south. Both men and women worked in these centers. Rules of spinning and weaving. These rules are from Arthashastra mentioned in chapter 7. Spinning and weaving. And then Shrenis of Moshe made the tree. Shrenis also served as banks where rich men and deposited money and their spouse invested. Part of the history museum and used to support religious institutions such as monasteries. The closure of Ari Kamedu, finding closure of some. Between 2200 and 19 years, 100 years ago, Arikamedu was a coastal settlement. Uh, where ships unloaded goods from distant lands. A massive brick structure, which may have been a warehouse, was found. Found at this site, and other finds include a pottery from the Mediterranean region, such as amphorae, tall double-handled jars that contained liquids such as wine or oil, and stamped red glazed pottery. Tall double Other finds include pottery from the Mediterranean region, such as amphorae, tall double-handled jars that contain liquids such as wine or oil, and stamped red glazed pottery known as Aratineware, named after a city in Italy. This was made by pressing wet clay into a stamped mold. Small tanks have been found that were probably dyeing wells. Come on, guys, get tank. Dyeing mats used to dye cloth. There is some plenty of evidence for the making of beads from the semi-precious stones and glass. Several pieces of pottery with inscriptions and palmy which was used to write the mill. An account by a Greek sailor, the story of Barigaza, the Greek name of Baruch. The gulf is very narrow at Barigaza and very hard to navigate for those coming from the sea. Ships had to be steered and very hard to navigate. for those coming from the sea. Ships have to be steered by an had to be steered in by a skillful and experienced local. By an skillful and experienced local fisherman who was employed by the king, and the imports entrepreneur wine, copper, tin, lead, coral topaz. Coral is one. Providing food security, livelihood, economic opportunities, and cost of protection. Mm, yeah, coral topaz, cloth, gold, and silver coins. Exports included plants from the Himalayas, ivory agate, that means Sulamani Patthar. Canadian and cotton silken perfumes, special use for washes for the king, included vessels of silver, singing boys, beautiful women, and fine clothes. Yes, this fine pottery, especially bowls, is fine, similar kilometer size through the subcontinent. How do you think the rich traders may have carried them from the places when they are made and sell them at the places? South India was famous for gold spices, especially pepper and precious stones. Pepper was particularly valued in the Roman Empire so much so that it enabled black gold. So traders carried many of these goods to carried so Roman ships across the sea and by land in caravans. These must have been quite a lot of trade, as many Roman gold coins have been found in South India. Can you think of how and why these reached find evidence of rain in the Sangam points. Here is one of which describes the goods brought in Puhar, an important port of on the east coast. Here about Swift. Swift and the of course kind of the horses by sea and sheep's bales of black pepper. Okay, Kalimach, Kars, Jimson, gold born in the Himalayas, sandalwood born in the western hills, the pearls of the southern seas, and the corals from the eastern ocean, the yield of the and the crops from the Kaveri, foodstuffs from Sri Lanka, pottery from Myanmar, and the other rare and rich imports. Tourists across the Sarassi River, some of these followed from the coast. There were other across the region and the Bay of Bengal where sailors took advantage of the monsoon winds to cross the seas more quickly. So if they wanted to reach the western coast of the continent in East Africa from East Africa, yani कि Arabia, and they chose to sail with the southwest. Okay, southwest in the monsoon, and sturdy ships had to be built for these long journeys. New pilgrims along the coast, the southern half of the subcontinent is marked by the long coastline and with hills, plateaus, and river valleys. The southern half of the subcontinent is long coastline and with hills, plateaus, and river valleys amongst the that of the Kaveri is the most fertile, and chiefs and kings who controlled the river valleys and the coast became rich and powerful. Some Sangam poems mention the Muvend. This is a Tamil word meaning three chiefs used for the heads of the three ruling families. The Cholas, Cheras, and Pandyas became powerful in South India around 2300 years ago. Each of the three chiefs had two centers of power one two centers of power, one inland and one on the coast. Of these six cities, two were very important: Puhar or Kaveri Pattinam, the port of the Cholas, and Madurai, the capital of the Pandyas. Puhar Kaveri Pattinam, Puhar, Puhar or Kaveri Pattinam. This is the port of Cholas city, and the Madurai, the capital of Pandyas. And the chiefs did not collect regular taxes. Instead, demanded and received gifts from the people. Also went on military expeditions and collected tribute from the neighboring. Many poets whose composition are found in the Sangam. Poets who are found in the Sangam collection composed poems in praise of genius who often rewarded them with precious stones, horses, elephants, chariots, and fine cloth. Around 200 years later, a dynasty known as the Satavahanas became powerful in western India. The most important ruler of the Satavahanas was Gautamiputra Sri Satkarni. Okay, we know about him from an inscription composed on behalf of his mother. We know about him from an inscription composed on behalf of his mother Gautami Balashri. He and other Satvahana rulers were known as lords of the Dakshinapath, literally the route leading to the south, which was also used as the name of the entire southern region. He sent his army to the eastern, western, and southern coast. He sent his army to the eastern, anything was to control the god. Zidrut and Kushana. Some kings tried to control large portions of the route. This was because they could benefit from taxes. Tributes and gifts that were brought by traders traveling along the route. In return, they often protected the trade. Traders who passed through their kingdoms from attacks by robbers. They often protected the traders who passed through their kingdoms from the attacks by robbers. Okay, the best known of the rule of control ruled Kushanas, who ruled over Central Asia and Northwest India around 2000 years ago. And there are two major centers of power: Peshawar and Mathura. Takshila was also included in the kingdom. During their rule, a branch of the Silk Route extended from Central Asia down to the seaports to the mouth of the river Indus, from where silver shipped westwards to the Roman Empire. Then the fact that was a very used for large landowners in Tamil. That was what? Mm, yeah, Gram Bhojika. They often got land cultivated by the one is dash and most Grihapatis were small landowners. He was powerful because of the list because he was the village headman and kings and courts often called him to give gifts and like this kind of thing. अरे बड़ी बड़ी लोगों में उठना बैठना रहना ठीक है. Is the capital river present? Benchmark coins were made of tin. Other important management treasure center. Trade was association of farmers and hunters. Beginning of the use of iron is about 3000 years ago, and increase in the use of iron. Cities benchmarked coins is 2500 years ago. Composition of Sangam treasure about 2300 years ago. Settlement in recommended between 2200 and 1900 years ago. Discovery of silk maybe about 7000 years ago. Okay, and the Cholas era is about 2000 years ago. About 2000 years ago, Kanishka Tirupashina. 1900 years ago, Akshin from India about 1600 years ago. Shansa comes to India, Bahar composes the first poems on Prince Shiva about 40 years ago. New Persian kingdom. Prashastis. Samudragupta's Prashasti. And a few things. We'll read it later. Ta-ta, bye bye. See you. Good night.